Once again, y'all, that's the sounds of Lee Williams. I can't give up now. It's about time for me to get up, get on out of here. About to put my feet on the floor with a big white hat out the door. But as I get ready to leave you, don't forget the quote by Winnie the Pooh. Promise me you'll always remember. You're braver than you believe. You're stronger than you seem. And you're smarter than you think. Winnie the Pooh. Well, on my way out of here for us to open up with the open line. Well, you got to have an open mind. We're going to do a little bit of Little Jeff Booty. I ain't done yet, but we're doing the song entitled, I Ain't the One. Just in case you sitting down trying to deal with all of life, as Bishop Lloyd said earlier, and what all is going on, and people trying to make you be them, act like them, and you just trying to be yourself. Just reach out and tell them, I ain't the one. Jeff Booty, if you got your ears on, man. Calvin Moore, Pastor Calvin Moore, good morning to you. Got excited. Baby, you try, but you can't. You can make me be just somebody I ain't. I put my hat on my head, my boots on my feet. I got my keys in one hand and my jack in the other. I think you should know that I'm a bad mother. Oh, well, I ain't the one. Well, I ain't the one. I ain't the one, baby. Well, I ain't the one. I'm gone. Well, baby, I'm gone. I can put up with this no more. I'm on my way. Little Jill. Yeah. He had won that award as the ambassador of Zydeco one time.
We want to remind you that the Open Line Radio Show is powered by Finders Keepers, 1006 Surrey Street, Lafayette. We want to remind you that the Open Line Radio Show is powered by Finders Keepers, 1006 Surrey Street, Lafayette. The Open Line Radio Show is heard exclusively from 9 to 11 a.m. every Wednesday on your community superstation for South Louisiana, KIEE 88.3.
The Open Line Radio Show is supported in part by Finders Keepers Home Improvement Store, the place with your residential hardware needs, small engines, outdoor power equipment, bathroom accessories, electronics, lighting, plumbing, and everything in between. Located in the Southern Development Office Building at 1006 Surrey Street, Lafayette. Telephone 337-780-8149. That's Finders Keepers Home Improvement.
KIEE, the Louisiana Superstation, presents the community's #1 radio talk show, The Open Line, if you have an open mind.
Have you ever looked in a face of age, or lend your ears to what an old man had to say? 'Cause every generation of his life reflects a movie scene, often more than twice. Child is born to live within the master plan. Boy grows up, leaves his home to be a man. Vintage years of wine for the wise. Every generation of our lives.
Good morning, people. Good morning, South Louisiana. Welcome to another edition of the Open Line Radio Show here on 88.3. That's KIEE. If you want to listen online, go to KIEEFM.com. KIEEFM.com. Thank you, Sister Khadijah, for being in today. And thank you. We got a special guest in studio, Mr. Oquin. He got some very important issues going on in the parish of St. Mary. And the thing with our station, we reached way deep down into St. Mary Parish, and I hope everybody's listening. Call a friend, tell a friend that this is a very important issue going on in St. Mary Parish. I'm getting ready to say the city of Lafayette because we always doing Lafayette. Good morning, Sister Khadijah. Good morning, Mr. Oquin.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Hotep Habarigani, Assalamu alaikum. How y'all doing out there? Another powerful edition of the Open Line. And it's, again, another beautiful day for those of us that waking up, whether you're in pain or not, just get to it, And
you're a veteran. You could handle it.
Another day with the good Lord. Yes, indeed. All right, Brother G.
Mr. Oquin has asked to come on and talk about his issue. Maybe it might light a fire under the feet of the officials in St. Mary Parish. Khadijah, we hear about these stories all the time.
Yes.
We had Mr. Robert Taylor from Cancer Alley and Miss Sharon Levine talking about this stuff numerous times and did TV shows about, pollution and so forth. And this is like Mr. Oquin said, and I agree with him totally. And we could all disagree on a lot of stuff, but a quality of life issue in South Louisiana, that shouldn't be about in these days and time. And Mr. Oquin has an issue that's going on in St. Mary Parish.
Yes. And the story of 3 Louisiana pig barns and their wastes along Bayou Teche, it's disgusting. Again, the story of 3 Louisiana pig barns and their waste along Bayou Teche. Now, Mr. Oquin, just tell us a little something about this horrific things that's going on within your property along the Bayou Teche.
Yes, ma'am. I had a disrespectful neighbor that moved by me in 2004. 2004. And in 2005, he ended up building a hog farm, putting up a hog farm on the side of my property. He built the first pen in the wetlands area where the pen would flood. Okay. Honestly, it's in the state and federal areas of the land along the Bayou Teche. He had numerous counts of pigs on that property. At one time, he had over 300 pigs on that property.
Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am. He had 3 barns that were built. He had one that was built in 2005. He built one on the side of my property line up in the front that was built in 2008. And then he built one up in the front on his father-in-law's piece of property around 2014. None of these hog barns had any kind of permits at all.
Before you go any further, I want to introduce Miss Wilma Supra on the phone. Correct me if I'm pronouncing it right. How you doing, Miss Supra?
Okay. Good
yes,
morning.
Welcome to the Open Line Radio Show on 88.3 FM. And I know that you're an expert on whatever you're talking. You do your investigative work. You're highly trained. Tell us a little bit more about yourself to our listening audience to get a background before we get into this discussion.
Sure. My name is Wilma Supra. I have Supra Company in New Iberia, Louisiana. I'm originally from Martin City and Berwick, and I provide technical assistance to community groups dealing with environmental and human health impacts. And I work with community groups all over the United States and in a number of foreign countries.
Yes. Miss Sharon Levine knows of you. She's with Cancer Alley groups, the different groups that come out of Cancer Alley. And we know we done had them on the show, and so many environmental issues in the state of Louisiana now. Now, Mr. Oquin tells us about the story of what's going on in St. Mary Parish.
Yes, that's correct. So I did some sampling, and I've been evaluating the situation since 2016. So when he talked about the hog farm or the swine farm, they generate wastewater from those 3 barns, as well as stable waste, pond bedding, pig urine, pig feces, feed that the animals don't eat, and a whole host of treating chemicals. And these chemicals and these constituents are being discharged into the bayou They have done a little bit to control some of it, but for the most part, it's still going into the bayous. And one of those barns is right in the floodplain of Bayou Teche, meaning when Bayou Teche is elevated, Bayou Teche water is running through that barn and taking all the contaminants in that barn and washing it downstream. And downstream in Sherrington and in Franklin, they are using Bayou Teche surface water as the source of their drinking water. And in Franklin, the intake is right behind the cemetery. So you can go down there and actually see the point at which they're removing that water. And the treatment system does not adequately treat all the chemicals and constituents that have been added to the Bayou Teche by the pig farm. So as a result of that, people are drinking some of the material from the pig farm, and because the parameters are not required to be tested by the health department, it is unknown how much is in that finished water that originates in the pig farm. And there's a criteria that we enacted a large number of years ago about putting up signs along the surface waters that serve as a source of drinking water. It's called Bayou Teche drinking water source signs are all along the Bayou Teche from Iberia St. Mary intersection all the way down behind Patterson and behind Berwick as well. So they are endangering the quality of the water in Bayou Teche, which is then used as a surface water source for drinking water. So they are potentially having negative impacts on all the communities around Sherrington as well as around Franklin.
Have this been brought to the attention of DEQ and United States Environmental Protection, EPA?
Right, and DEQ has come out and done a number of inspections and cited them for not having a discharge permit, which would mean that they would have certain parameters they had to monitor and what was going on into the bayou. And they got around that by saying they have a Department of Ag best management practices. And that Department of Ag best management practices allows them to spray the untreated wastewater containing pig urine, pig feces, and wastewater from the pig farm onto the designated areas of his property. And then that drains off into the Bayou Teche and contaminates the Bayou Teche. And so the potential to contaminate waters in the Bayou Teche exists as far as coliform bacteria, viruses, parasites, nutrients, the medications he feeds to the pigs to make them large for the shows that he attends, and then a whole host of toxic chemicals. So all of those are going into the Bayou Teche, and as I said, downstream, cities are taking that water as a source water and treating it, but not treating it for all the chemicals that he is adding to the water.
Now, Miss Wilma, I've seen some of those, the pictures of some of those hogs. They look like they're on some serious steroids, like buffalo hog. But buffalo hogs. But what I wanted to ask you is that about the environmental issues in St. Mary Parish dealing with the Bayou Teche, because parish president is telling people, the officials in Washington, D.C., that they never had environmental issues. And that's coming from parish president, Mr. David Honegiff.
If you do not look, you do not see, and therefore you do not address those problems. And so when I was telling you all the parameters that are allowed to flow into the Bayou Teche from this facility, those are not the ones that you test for if you have a drinking water source. You test for the ones that have Office of Conservation and Department of Health standards, like residual chlorine, and does it have a lot of lead in it and things like that. But you're not looking for all the parameters he's putting in the water. So when the parish president says that, I mean, we've appeared before the parish president and the whole council and given them data showing them. So again, if you don't look, you don't know, and you don't see.
Well, you could definitely see the dirtiness. You could definitely smell. You could definitely smell how it look. What about the chemicals on his property, Mr. Andy property? What kind of chemicals? That's serious with these chemicals.
So he had some testing done on his property, and the things that were found there over the standards were arsenic, which is a heavy metal, barium, a heavy metal, chromium, and lead, heavy metals, and then fecal coliform bacteria, total coliform bacteria. Those are tested for in the drinking water. And you put in chlorine to kill those organisms, but the chlorine does not kill the chemicals. And then he has feces contaminating in the soil samples on his property. And because of the irrigation, they cause irritation to the skin, rash, and eyes.
Yes.
To the nose, throat, and lungs. They cause bronchitis, coughing, wheezing, weakness, nausea, vomiting, headaches, muscle cramps, hoarseness, shortness of breath, damage the nervous system, the kidneys, the nausea, the vomiting, diarrhea, and a whole host of things on the chemicals that have migrated onto his property from the pig farm. Those are the health impacts, and they are on his property, yes.
The all. What about?
Yes.
Yeah. What about the all?
The crude oil, or the oil that he may have mixed with his material.
Yes.
It's just you use the parameter total organic carbons and oil and grease, and we were looking specifically more for the heavy metals and the organic compounds. Yes. But yes, he can see the oily residue on his property.
And what about the flies? Smells, rat smells.
Oh, he gets the odors all the time.
All the time.
People in that area. There's a church down